What's up, Jeromes? We're back Friday Q&A, traditional spot for the Jeromes Q&A. But it's been a weird week. It's a weird time. And for the foreseeable future, we may be doing a lot of these potentially every single day. But also, we're going to go through your Q&As as well as if you have anything to say, toss it in the live chat as well. Plus, if you want to get your question answered, toss a little something in the super chat, a little something never hurt anyone, as well as at 1 p.m. Central Time today. So about 50 minutes from now, we're going to be doing the members only, so monthly and platinum Jeromes. We're going to do a couple of mock drafts. Have a lot of fun there. So hit that join button down below. Find out how you can get involved, support the work, and also you get a little something extra on the side. All right, so let's get into this. First up, HuskGamer15. What is the minimum amount of wins, #wins, for Zimmer Spielman to get extended? I think Spielman is safe. Just reading the tea leaves and all the actions that he's taken so far this offseason, I actually think that Spielman is safe. Zimmer TBD. I do think that he probably has to win a playoff game, especially with the playoffs expanding to 7. I don't think just making the playoffs is enough. I think he has to win another playoff game. I think they have to make some moves forward. So next up, JD Mack. Your thoughts on picking up Jason Verrett, Ronald Darby, Nickel Roby-Coleman to rebuild our Barons CB room? Well, since they lost Mack, NRC for sure. They were interested in him before he re-signed with the Rams. God, I love touching my face. I just really do. Everyone does that too. Jason Verrett, if he can stay healthy, for sure. Legit talent. And Darby is out there chilling. It's going to have to be cheap, though, given the Vikings cap situation, even though #cap is a myth. Siona Ayonga. Would you rather know all the mysteries of the universe or know every outcome of every choice you make? I kind of like the uncertainty of life. That's part of the fun of it. Like, there was this old Twilight Zone episode, I touched my face again, where it was this guy that everything that he gambled on, he won. And it's like, oh, I win again. Oh, I win again. Oh, I win again. Now, you think that was great. But eventually he got bored of it. And he's like, why is heaven like this? And they're like, oh, no, sir. This isn't heaven. This is hell. Dun, dun, dun. So, I mean, part of the fun in life is losing and coming back to win after you've lost. So, yeah, probably no. Mysteries of the universe. I mean, that'd be great. I always thought that once I depart from the simulation, just knowing all the answers of what happened through history, like what happened at the end of the Bronze Age, like what happened in the Teutoburg Forest, what happened with the Crassus's army in Parthia. Did they really make it to India? That's what I want to know. Also, who shot JFK? Was 9/11 staged? Was coronavirus a biological weapon created by China? That's all these things. All these questions. Who shot JR? Or who shot Mr. Burns? Oh, it was Maggie? Crap. I knew that one. Gabriel Jaeger. Actually, let's take a question from the live stream chat. Let's see here. Shaq Edwards, what's more likely to happen in the first round? Us trading up due to having more than 10 picks or trading back in the first round to get more picks? I actually think trading back or potentially trading back into the first round. I wouldn't be shocked if the Vikings come away with three first round picks, 22, 25, and then also a little bit later on. I think that's what it's set up. But also the Vikings have a lot of needs and a lot of holes currently on this team. And it is a influx with youth going on there. Next up, Gabriel Jaeger. If Mike Zimmer ends up leaving, what are your thoughts of having an offensive-minded coach and maybe a coach who passes first and runs second? Yeah, I know that Gary Kubak's waiting in the wings. I think that's the most likely successor, especially interim head coach of the Vikings, part ways with Zimmer midseason. But, man, just having a young, like, super aggro, just go after it head coach, I would love that. In fact, if they could get Bruce Arians, like, 30 years ago, just bring out B.A., with the afro that he had at Temple. Let's just do that. Next up, Mr. Popo. Isn't it odd that we face Rivers and Brady in the same season? I see a 6 to 8 wins max this season. How many do you see? 11-5, staying alive, take the NFC North, win a Jerome Barty in Tampa, in your face. Michael Baez. Even though Kirk Cousins is running the show, will we draft a quarterback in the 5th, 6th round? I don't see the Vikings drafting a quarterback this year. I just really don't. It's been against Spielman's nature. He hasn't drafted a non-first round quarterback since John David Booty in the 5th round in 2008. Don't quote me on that. But Yeah, just picking up a QB in the mid rounds late is not really Spielman's thing. He loves the UDFAs. He loves the Joel Staves. He loves the Mitch Leidners. He likes the Jake Brownings. He likes the Kyle Jerome Ezekiel Sluters. How many of them worked out? Except for Kyle Sluter. I'm still holding out hope. That's right, babe. Tyler asks, if the Vikings trade up, who do you want them to target? Well, Javon Kinlaw falls. I mean, Kinlaw and Pierce, baby. Kinlaw and Armon Watts on passing downs. Kinlaw and Afadio Denimo inside on passing downs, baby. If Akuda falls, I'm warming up to CJ Henderson. Like if one that I'll put Akuda as 1A as 1. I'll put Henderson as 1B in terms of the cornerbacks, even though it's a really solid cornerback class. If Becton falls, if Becton or Worf start falling into the teens, I would make a move for him. I think Andrew Thomas will be long gone. I think Wills will be long gone. I mean, Josh Jones, just finding a way to secure him, I think that'd be great. So, well, Jerry Jeudy, if Jeudy or Lamb starts falling into the late teens, I would certainly look at it. I just touched my face again. Justin Banks. Let's grab another one from the live chat. You guys deserve some love too, for sure. Easton Hoffman, how do you feel about the new CBA 17-game regular season, shortened preseason? I'm for it. I mean, the players get a boost. You get one extra regular season game. You get one less preseason game. I know the preseason. Everyone hates preseason, but I do think that they are important, especially for young guys trying to make the roster. I think it's more important for the rosters expanding to 55, as well as practice squads going up to 12 and then eventually 14. I think that's better that more guys are employed, as well as game day, which I always thought the game day active 46 was stupid. They're loosening restrictions on that. I think essentially decriminalizing weed or narrowing down, like if you test positive for weed now, you're just a moron, because you have 2 weeks now and you know when the 2 weeks are. So keep an eye out for that. But I think Holton Hill isn't grandfathered in on that. So let's see what else here. Extra playoff team. It's cool. Yeah, I think overall, not a lot changed in the CBA. I like that it's 11 years, so you got the extra year of labor piece. So just go from there. All right. Cricket play FN. Would you agree about picking up Robbie Anderson, free agent, and then drafting cornerback and offensive lineman in the first? I mean, Robbie Anderson, I initially thought that he was going to break the bank. I thought he was going to get a really solid $14-15 million a year deal, but the longer it goes and the more teams just don't have any more money, I think he may be stuck signing like a 1 year, $6 or $7 million prove it deal and just try and hit free agency again. I think certainly the upcoming historically great wide receiver class is depressing a lot of free agent wide receiver value. I mean, it seems like, why would I pay Robbie Anderson $15 million a year when I can just draft a wide receiver, you know? But if you can get him at 6, I mean, that's a great deep threat. I mean, Kirk Cousins, respect where it's due, still throws one of the best deep balls in the league, essentially replacing that aspect of Diggs' game, getting into the third tier of the defense. And I would be okay with that if he comes cheap. Right. All right. So back to the Qs. Justin Banks. Love the channel. Keep up the good work. Love you, man. With Brandon Cooks on the trading block, do you think we should make a move to get him? Also, what are your thoughts on moving Oli Udoh to left guard? Can't be much, blah, blah, blah. Brandon Cooks, I mean, he sort of is like the Forrest Gump of NFL wide receivers. Like, oh, cool. You start out with prime Drew Brees. Great. Oh, you move on to Tom Brady. Oh, now you're with Sean McVay. Cool. I never really... I always thought that he was decent, but massively overrated at the same time, so I wouldn't be in on him. Oli Udoh. Yeah, I do think that one of the reasons why they let go of Klein, not only because Sami is ready to rock and roll, but I think they really like what they have in Udoh. I think that he does project well to the inside, although I think he's much more of a right guard than a left guard, just stylistically. But yeah, in terms of him being sort of the swing backup, he can play either tackle spot, he can play some guards in a pinch. He's a nouveau Rashad Hill. I really like Oli Udoh and his potential upside. Green Bay eats butt. I like that. Should the Vikings invest more of their assists into the draft or sign free agents? I'd say draft, especially given the Vikings cap spot now. You have 12 draft picks, potentially more if you trade Anthony Harris. Go after it. Seth V. Herman, why does Zimmer still have a job if all these players just want out? Is he losing the locker room? Like we did a video yesterday, I think the Vikings are keeping him on so that they can scapegoat him if it doesn't work out in 2020. And if it works out, great, kumbaya. But yeah, I think there's a reason why Jerry Gray left, Terrence Newman left after 1 year of coaching, and also all these defensive backs are walking out the door, most of them not saying great things or potentially not saying great things. Yeah. Green Bay eats ass again. Is there a possibility the Vikings get a third first-round draft pick? If so, what do you think we'd have to give up? I think it's a potentially strong possibility, depending on who's there at the back end of the first round. They could have to package a second and a third, potentially a little bit more sugar, depending on where you want to get into and what the demand is at that point. Vikings fan 107. Are we worried about Dalvin Cook's injury problems? And if we traded him, what could we get? Yes, and that's one of the reasons why I'm a little bit hesitant of giving him a long-term extension. And if you traded him right now, given that he only has 1 year left on his contract, I think you're probably looking at maximum like a late second, early third in that ballpark. Yeah, but I know there's some fans out there. I would not trade Dalvin for unless we get 2 firsts back. Yeah, good luck on that. Hold your breath while you're waiting for that one, please. Eric Normal, do you think any other team in the division can dethrone the Cheeseheads? I don't like what Green Bay has done. I like what Green Bay has done as a Vikings fan. Same thing with the Bears. I think the Bears and Lions are going to be bottom dwellers. So I think it's between the Vikings and the Packers this year. Michael Baez, what is the bigger need in the draft to double up, wide receiver or cornerback? I think both, especially with 12 draft picks. You do have the flexibility to do both. Chris, Hulu or Netflix? I like Netflix. I like Netflix because they have better original programming, and also, so this is how I've come to watch TV and movies, especially if it's something that I've watched before. Or you notice that like TV shows where hour-long episodes, 10 to 13 episodes a season, there's a lot of downtime. Like there's a lot of downtime. There's a lot of B storylines that don't go anywhere. Hitting that. So I basically only watch on my phone now. Like I don't watch on the TV or on the computer. So Netflix has the best fast forward motion because once you're loaded, once you're buffered, you can just really skip through. Whereas with Hulu, whereas with Amazon, whereas with what other apps do we have? YouTube TV. Every time you fast forward, it has to buffer a little bit, so it's a little bit annoying. Hulu we like because specific shows that's on there. Like the wife really likes Handmaid's Tale. We both really like Top Chef. There's a bunch of really good shows on there. Ryan O'Sullivan. It concerns me how many needs this team has. Do you think there are any players on the roster who could randomly step up and take over position need? Chris Boyd. Call him out there. I think Hughes and Holton Hill certainly have to step up. Love Olabisi Johnson. Also, I'm a big Davion Davis fan. I like Alexander Hollins as well. In terms of, so David Morgan I touched my face again. Brandon Dillon, the Marion Barbarian, certainly could step up. Offensive line, Drew Samia, Oli Udo. Defensive line, Armon Watts, Afadio Denebo will have to really step up as well. And, Mike Boone and Alexander Madison. Sure. Eric Moe. Who will win the NFC North and NFC South next year? Vikings and the Teddies. Face. Anthony Williams. Any news on Anthony Harris? A shout from Coon Rapids. Not as of yet. I know that Thomason just tweeted something out. All right, so they introduced Michael Pierce, blah, blah, blah. Come on. New Vikings defensive tackle Michael Pierce. I'm super, super thankful to be part of this Viking news organization. Oh, no shit. What do you think he'd say? I only came here for the money. Shit. All right, so where'd it go? Thomason said something about Harris earlier. I'm gonna find it now. You ever get to a point where it's just like sunk time and you're like, God damn it, I'm gonna. All right, so here's Thompson. Sources say Anthony Harris, who got franchise tagged $11.441 million by the Vikings, really wants long-term security deal. He played on a 1-year restricted free agent deal last year. He'd love to stay in Minnesota on a long-term deal and buy a house, etc. He wants a commitment from some team. I wonder who his source is. Yeah, the specific thing about buying a house. I wonder who his source is. So it's either Anthony Harris or his agent. Okay. Yeah, we did a video today about the 4 options with Anthony Harris that can still extend him. I don't think they'd mind letting him play on the franchise tag. They can still cut him, all that other stuff. I think everything's on the table, especially since he hasn't signed his tag yet. Mason Large, how would you grade this Macadam fan speak? So, guys, don't send in a lot of these. They do take up a lot of time and a lot of space and a lot of bandwidth. So, in my mind, but look at this. Josh Jones, love it. T. Higgins, love it. Bryce Hall, love it. I think he could be the value cornerback of this draft. Damian Lewis, I love it because he's a great player. Not exactly a scheme fit, but just he's a freaking mauler. Roquan Davis from Bama, love it. Dore Holmes, as well as the wide receiver from Kentucky. But yeah, I mean that's a knockout, especially like the first 5 picks, fully in. Pulford Skull, actually, that's a bit of an asshole answer. I would say we'll do one where you just send in your mock drafts and I'll critique, but one specific one. We'll do that. Pulford Skull. What's the best options for free agent wide receivers out there for the Vikings? Vikings should bring Demaryius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders one time. If they can do like a 5-year time travel to bring Demaryius Thomas back, sure. I think Manny Sanders does have something a little bit left on the bone, sure. Brashard Perriman has been tied to the Vikings. He had a nice resurgent year in Tampa after just really crapping himself in Baltimore. Robbie Anderson still floating out there, sure. I think they will have to be cheap, though. It's fine. Travis, cut Elfline and Reef, sign Thuney, sign Sanders, draft Ruggs, a cornerback and tackle, maybe Winfield Jr. That's the ideal rest of the Vikings offseason for me. Do you think we get done? I think that would be a lot of moving parts. They'd have to trade for Thuney, but I think that certainly could be done. But in terms of draft, I think the Vikings are certainly set up very well for this upcoming draft class because a lot of their needs are extremely deep positions: wide receiver, cornerback, offensive line. It's better than the Vikings. At least they don't need a tight end, a edge rusher, or an interior offensive lineman. Yeah. Spencer Tabor. Are you related to Tease Tabor, the really slow cornerback from Florida? Do you believe Madison could replace Cook full-time if needed? And Sad Diggs is gone, but no doubt it's going to be a big year for Thielen. I don't think he'd be a one-on-one replacement. I do think that he brings a better power element than Dalvin. I don't think he's as quick or elusive. Also, I don't think he's quite the receiver or pass blocker that Dalvin is. But I think Madison combined, maybe not with Boone specifically, but with a Mike Boone-esque. Just keep biting my tongue. Do you ever just get it where you just randomly bite your tongue at times, whether you're eating or whether you're just talking? Because I have like a divot on the right side of my tongue where I just randomly catch it like once every 3 days. It's just like, ha. I'm sure you guys have seen it in the video. But maybe not Mike Boone specifically, but a Mike Boone-esque player. A little bit more quick, more of a receiver. Hell, like Austin Eckler type player paired with Madison, I think would be a decent replacement for Dalvin if they ever had to do that. I touched my face again. Jack Ellis. Assuming we don't trade Anthony Harris for a second, with Fulton and Henderson probably going mid-first, do we use one of our first rounders on one of the other 2 corners, Hall, Terrell, etc.? Yeah, it's a great cornerback class. Next up, Oakview. I noticed that you didn't put Okudah. I still am living on the pipe dream that the Vikings are going to move all the way up for Jeff Okudah. It's going to happen. Oakview. I understand why people don't like Kirk Cousins, but man, Andy, I've been watching him for a while now, and I just watched his highlights in the Saints game, and I got to say, he's a very good quarterback. I think for sure, I mean, the highs with Kirk Cousins are amazing. Like on a given day, if he's hot, if he's feeling it, he can be a top 5 quarterback in this league. Problem is consistency. And the problem is sometimes he disappears, especially in big games, especially in primetime games, especially against team with winning records. And also, like, he just randomly has brain farts and just pulls boners occasionally as well. But I've come to grips that the Vikings have basically said this is Kirk Cousins' team for at least the next 2 years, potentially 3. I mean, they can get out of that extension after 1 year. But I mean, it is what it is. Either you get in line or get with the program or get off the train. That is really about it. Because even though the Vikings are really jettisoning a lot of formerly great Vikings talent and then pushing all their chips in with Kirk Cousins, I mean, it is what it is at this point. So there it is. All right, we'll take one more from the from the live chat. Thomas Danielson, love the production value. Do you think it's odd that Cousins' no trade clause isn't there anymore? A possible trade down the road. I think that certainly leaves the flexibility open for that. Because say it doesn't work out this year, and say the Niners are sick of Jimmy Garoppolo, I mean, that's really setting up perfectly for the Vikings to get into a full rebuild. Trade Kirk Cousins to the Niners, use those picks, use that eventual cap space to really reconstruct this team, because that would be a full rebuild. If they parted ways with Cousins, that would be a full rebuild as opposed to the reload, retooling that I see with the Vikings at right now. And that's it. That's the Friday Vikings Q&A. Thank you guys for coming along in the live stream, in the live chat as well. Thank you everyone for who submitted questions as well. Remember, 1 p.m., so like half an hour from now, we will be doing a members only mock draft. Do a couple things, live chat. So find out how you can do that. Hit that join button down below. Become a monthly or platinum Jerome. Join in on all the fun. It's going to be a great time. But the next time, Skull Production.